Hey guys, back at it. This this recording is going to be 4 days together because I just got so into the weekend that I forgot, well, didn't forget, but I was, chilling out with the kids and not recording. So this is my 1 year daily diary challenge that was prompted through a 100-day challenge. And those first 100 days were pressed on me through a meditation session. If you want more information, pop back and listen in. These are raw, real, unedited, uncut. I literally just press record and get going. So this is me just being transparent, being open about what's happening every day throughout this 1 year process. So today will be day 324, 325, 326, and 327. It is Memorial Weekend, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This was just a lot of relaxing, a lot of hanging out. So let's start with Friday, day 324. Got up and got the kids ready for school. So typically Fridays, my son and I do our date time. And today we decided to do Dunkin' because every month I get new Dunkin' money as well as Grubhub and Uber Eats through my American Express card. And so I try to be really thoughtful about using it, even though it sometimes prompts me to spend a little bit more money than I would initially. I'm just like, if I have extra money for those things, I'll use it. So all of us got up together, we got ready, we got, situated and out in the car. I dropped my daughter at school first, and then I dropped my son at school after we went to Dunkin'. So we went to Dunkin' and we got our donuts for him. We were having just some chats and different things. And as we do these dates, it's open the door, be thoughtful, just different gentlemanly things that he can do. Also, especially going to the donut place, okay, son, we're going to get half a dozen donuts. You get to decide which flavors. Here are all the flavors on the wall. Which ones do you want? And so he gets to go through these decision-making processes and then also understand, people are waiting behind him. Be respectful. If you can't make up your mind, let somebody go in front of you. So we did that and then got our donuts and got him to school. And so Friday, I got myself in the car. I got myself back home and started my workout. I have been doing my workouts and I have been doing my vibration plate and I have been doing my other things, just not the sauna, because that is something I'm not sure with my scabby knees if that's something I should be doing. So after I got home, got to that, and then I was planning to go to some coffee event, but I actually didn't make it because I sat down on the sofa after doing all that workout and everything, and I started to call the utility companies to try to, set my shut-off date. And so Friday, I got all those things done. I set my dates for shut-off. And then I've been listening to the Bible on audio. And so I was listening to that. And I have finished my Kabbalah 1 series that I signed up for, and I've just been loving it. And so I was wanting to go to the Kabbalah 2 and so on. And so I signed up for that, waiting to hear a response back. And then I started to get more into certifications and trainings and things that I want to do when I get down to Florida. Friday morning kind of got, swept up, and I didn't go to the coffee event, but I decided to go the next week. And as I'm doing all these moving things, I'm getting a little overwhelmed because my grandmother is also wanting me to help her a lot with her moving. And this is where I'm like, pause, sit with it, say, what a pleasure. It's all this, Kabbalah stuff I've been learning. Pause and say, what a pleasure in any circumstance that you want to be reactive. Because the only free will we have, since our life is a scripted movie, is, are we going to be reactive or non-reactive? And so I decided to just pause and just say, what a pleasure it is to be in this space, to be helpful with family, to get to sit here and listen and be open. And so I just went through my whole thing and continued to be in the pleasure sense until my body felt non-reactive. And so, yeah, just that. And the day kind of went along, and I was, doing more things in the house, and I was getting some boxes moved around, taking down some pictures on the wall, thinking about painting and what I'm going to get into next weekend when I don't have the kids. So Friday was a really long day, but not a long day, just because I was focusing on taking care of a lot of stuff like that. Now I had talked to the kids about going. My son wanted to see the puppies after school. And so after they got done, with school and they got home from the bus, my daughter and I sat down and started watching a show together. And my son got home from the bus, and I said, when he's ready to go see the puppies, we'll go. And then my daughter went with us. And so we all went to the puppy place together, and we just hung out and had a great time hanging out with puppies. And then we ended up going to the store to get some ice cream. And so it was just lovely seeing the kids interacting so well together and like playing together and hanging out together, and just had such a great time interacting. And so my son also was trying to get together with a friend of his, and so we planned that for Saturday. And so like Friday night was really cool. We had like ice cream. We got to hang out with puppies, and it was a long weekend for them. They were ready to chill. My daughter and I were watching a show of ours, and my son was just hanging out. And then we, at some point wrapped it up and went to bed. And then Saturday I let them sleep in and I let them rest and relax. And now I had talked to my man, and he was having some back problems, and ended up he pulled a muscle, and he had to go to the ER and get some like heavy pain medication. And so he was on Friday kind of like not feeling well and recovering. And so Saturday was also one of those days when he was just like completely relaxing and taking it easy and not doing too much of anything. So Saturday for us was just, like I said, a relaxing day. Like we hung out. It was kind of rainy and gloomy outside. We did a lot of stuff like inside together, and we actually, Sunday was the day my son went to his friend's house. So Saturday was just a chill day at home for us. And we did just like hang out and enjoy the day, just being, with each other, relaxing, kind of each of us doing our own thing in our own ways, and just like interacting momentarily. So yeah, Saturday was super chill, not too much to report about really. But Sunday was the day that my son was going to his friend's house, and they planned to hang out like the whole day. The mom was like, cool, just come and hang out. And so before we went over to his friend's house, decided my son and I just to go to the puppy place by ourselves. And so we went to the puppy place by ourselves, and we went to the grocery store to get some grocery stuff. And he, was very cute about the store and the things that he was looking at. And So we went to the grocery store and the puppy place together, and then we packed it up and we got ready to go to his friend's house and dropped him off. And his friend, he hung out with his friend until like later that evening. So I went home, and on my way home, I called my man to say, like, hey, I have time if you want to talk, because I've been more intentional about trying to keep things separate. So like I've been doing a little bit of like talking to him during like my kid time, which I have like, kids a lot. So and then the kids will come in and they'll disrupt me, or it's disrupting to the kids' time to talk. And so I've just been seeing this disruption happen, where it's not a bad disruption, where it's like, the kids are kind of funny because they know that I have a man, and that, they're interested in him, and like he is interested in allowing me to have time with them and not kind of hanging out too much on the phone. So I've just been sorting through this in my head, like, yes, I need to create this defined spaces again, kind of reassert the boundaries, where it's like, I didn't really think it was going to be a problem, and it's not really a problem. It's just something that I've noticed, where I'm like, yes, I want to focus my time on him when I'm talking to him, my man, and I want to focus on the kids when I'm with them. So I just decided to tell my man on Saturday that, hey, I'm going to like try to separate these things again. And so I called him in the car on the way after dropping my son off at his friend's house. And now I had been texting him all morning, just being like, hey, how are you feeling? How's your back? How's the medication? And the doctor said he was supposed to have like 3 full days of recovery. And so this would have been a day of recovery. But when I called, when I was texting him, he didn't say anything about going to his friend's house and doing a project or whatever. But when I called him, he was very quick about like, hey, I'm with my friend, we're doing a project, can I call you back? Very quick. And I was just like so kind of like shocked, because I was assuming that he was in bed just resting, because it was supposed to be a rest day. And so obviously I just said, oh, okay, yeah. And he hung up, and I went on. And so as I'm thinking about it, as I'm driving home, thinking about like, oh, he didn't say he was going to his friends. He was supposed to be resting and recovering. Like, he was very quick about getting off the phone. Like, this is just so weird. Like, let me pause. And because I'm feeling very reactive and very like offended, upset at all these little things, I'm just feeling like a little bit of fire in me. And instead of being reactive and jumping to conclusions and making assumptions, I'm just going to pause and reflect and say, what a pleasure it is that this was brought up. Now I get to work on myself. And so I paused and I reflected, and I was just like, why am I so upset about this? Why is this thing causing a little trigger in me? And I really worked through it and worked down to it. And this was at like 1:00 in the afternoon. And so as I got home, I talked to my daughter, and she just wanted to chill and watch a movie and hang out in her room, and that was fine. And so I literally, until later that evening, maybe like 8:00, was sitting with myself for the whole day, just like struggling and wrestling and working through this, all of this stuff, because it's like my son was at his friend's house. My daughter didn't want to hang out. My man was preoccupied, unknowingly. Like, I thought he would be kind of like chilling and recovering. And so I was like left with this removal of people I thought were going to be like available to hang out with me and do things with me on a day off. And so then as I sat with it and I paused and I reflected, and I was like, what a pleasure it is to be going through this. And doing all of my Kabbalah 1 things that I've just recently learned, and then also doing my normal things that I've learned. I was just like, this is such an amazing opportunity to work on myself and to be with myself and to sit in the silence and be okay, because it's like, I know my children love me, even though they do their own things. I know my man is, I'm not going to say loves me because he didn't say it, but I know that he is 100% signed up for the game together. And this has no indication of like anything lacking or of me. And so it's just like, as I'm working through it, as I'm processing it, as I'm being okay sitting with myself, and, as it gets later, then my daughter comes down and she's like, hey, Mom, you want to watch something together? And so, fine. We sit down and we watch something together. And just, like, I've had this whole day, I think this was like 8 o'clock or something. I've had this whole day of just being to myself and having free time and being available. And she just comes down to sit with me and watch something. And then my man texts me, hey, sorry I haven't contacted you until now. We were doing this project and, this is what's going on and we're just wrapping up. And do you have time to talk? And I started to feel reactive again. And I was like, let me put my phone down for a second, because I'm just going to pause and I'm going to be like, what a pleasure it is that this has been brought up, that I am now having something else to work on. And as I settled into not feeling so reactive, I was able to respond in a way that, I'm currently hanging out with my daughter. I'm unable to talk. I'm glad you're feeling better. And, we can chat maybe tomorrow. And so it was just me being real about what was going on and my availability and my love and my support. But it just felt like weird. It felt like, I've had this whole day by myself, to myself. I've been reactive. I've been non-reactive. I've been like moody because my period and like all this stuff is happening. And so I sent that message and put the phone down, and I was just like, settling in with myself and what was going on. And then my daughter fell asleep on my shoulder and didn't even really watch the show that we were watching together. And again, I felt reactive, and I was like, ooh, like this is kind of a yucky feeling, to feel reactive to the people who are close to you, who are not really doing anything intentionally. And I was feeling super selfish and super, like I said, triggered and reactive. And so it was time to go pick up my son, and I go pick him up, and I'm like, he's so happy. He had all day with his friend, and he gets in the car. He's upset because he has to go, because he can't sleep over, because we were going to Sliding Rock the next day on Monday. And I was just like, not because I was trying to appease him. I was feeling moody. I was feeling in a place, and I was like, hey, bro, let's go get ice cream. And so we both hop in the car. We both get ice cream. We're both having ice cream, and we're both hanging out together. And I was just like, I'm so glad you had all day to hang out with your friend and enjoy the day with him. And then we got home, we finished our ice cream. My daughter was still asleep, and she was like so dead asleep. I was like, hey, go up to bed. You're tired. Just go up to bed, go to sleep. And then my son comes over and he wants to watch a movie. So we watch a movie together, and I fall asleep watching the movie. And so I didn't actually get to say good night to my man, because, it was late and I had my phone down, and I fell asleep during the movie, and I was like just dragging myself up to bed. So the next day was Monday. We're planning to go to Sliding Rock. I got up at like my alarm time, and I got everybody's stuff ready. I got towels. I looked at the weather, and it was like really, really rainy and stormy over there. So I was like, I don't actually think it's a good idea to drive 4 hours so that we can be in a storm on a rock and with water. So I just decided to let everybody chill, not to go, and just to hang out at the house. So when my son got up and got ready, I told him, hey, this is the deal. I'm sorry you couldn't hang out with your friend and do a sleepover, because he could have. And I said, but the next best thing is to go back and hang out with him. we just had to wait for his mom to let us know. And so then my son found out his remote control wasn't in his backpack and it was left at his friend's house. So I was like, this is a great opportunity to go back to your friends. But yeah, Sliding Rock, I told them both what was going on. And I said, we can still go if you want to, but I don't know if neither one wanted to go in a storm. So my daughter and I hung out most of the day, just doing, watching stuff and catching up on our show. And she was so tired because apparently she stayed up all night the night before. Just like watching stuff, and that's fine. It's the weekend. But she had to be real with herself and let me know that's what she did. So I wasn't concerned something was wrong. But yeah, Monday was just like hang out, relax at the house. My daughter and I hung out. My son went back to his friend's house for a little bit, and then I came back to the house just to hang out and do more stuff. So like I said, these days were like a blur to me. There were a lot of the same things that were going on. We were just hanging out. It was a great weekend. We did a lot about the puppy place. My son hung out with his friend a lot. We didn't really go anywhere just because of the weather. And we went to the store. We got watermelon and kiwi and some good things to have in the house. But yeah, it was just a great couple of days just hanging out with them. A lot of, like I said, I talked to my man off and on throughout this whole weekend process. And I actually talked to him Monday night. We finally connected. And I was like, both of the kids are preoccupied. I am going to take a minute and go outside and have a conversation. And so he had a lot of stuff that was going on in his family and in his world, and he just needed to talk and have a person to talk to. And I was like, all this stuff has been going on with me, and I just needed somebody to talk to. And so, like, the things that we talked about, the things that we shared, and the things that we were open about, it just felt really good. And he let me know that he's planning on coming the weekend I'm moving to help me move, which gives me a lot of relief because I was thinking, how am I going to do this? How am I going to drive a truck by myself and get my car down to Florida? And it was just beautiful the way that he was like, no, I'm doing it. I am coming and I am helping you. And like, I want to do this for you and I want to do this to be there and support you. And so it was just really great. But we had a great conversation. We talked about a lot of things. We connected. I was able to be open with him and say, hey, this is how I was feeling over the weekend with what went on. I said, it has nothing to do with you. And like you were just moving through the way that you were moving through. And I was obviously the person who gets triggered if the other person didn't intentionally say or do anything to hurt them, like something that's like, I hate you, I don't love you. If they're not verbally expressing things that are directly meant to hurt you, then it has something more to do with you than it does to do with them. So I was like, hey, just let you know, this is the things I was feeling, and it has more to do with me than you. And also I was like, and then I've been super emotional. And so we talked through that. And it was great. It was a great conversation, and I was glad that we had it. And I'm glad that I'm sitting here and I'm working through these things because I just want to continue to do the work and clear up and clean up my energy and all of that. So yeah, just a lot of really amazing things. Rest, fun with the kids, fun with puppies. My kids are shocked because they're like, Mom, you're not a dog person. You're not a cat person. You don't like pets. And I was like, there's a lot of things I've worked on, and that's kind of one of them. It's not that I didn't like them. It's that the energy was off for me for a while. And now I'm being more open to that. And I'm being more open to like, they love pets, they love dogs, so let me, engage with them in that. And I do really love the idea of having a pet. It's just like, the expense and all of that. So anyway, just to move through these couple of days with them has been amazing work for me. And I'm continuously pausing and with the pleasure and trying and just being non-reactive to things. So how are the kids going to learn? They're going to learn through me. And yeah, it's just been a big lesson. So I thank you guys for supporting me, for being here, for listening in, and all the things like share, subscribe, comment. And I hope you have the most amazing, wonderful, beautiful day. And I do appreciate everything. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Peace.